Good evening and welcome to Whaler Talk, hosted by the Hartford Whalers Booster Club. I'm Jerry Irwin, and tonight we're going to start off with some interesting news and notes from the AHL, primarily the attendance status, the call-ups from the Connecticut Whale to the Rangers, and some of the scheduling. Has it been positive or negative with the Whale and the rest of the league? Tonight, Sean Irwin's here with me, and he's going to talk about the attendance.
Okay, well, on attendance-wise on the AHL, Connecticut isn't doing too well. They're down in the lower 20 bracket.
Out of how many teams?
Out of about, I think it's 29 teams, 30 teams. And leading the pack is Hershey, when they have an average of 9,000 a game. Connecticut, on the other hand, only has an average of about 4,000 a game. Bridgeport is beating us with almost 5,000 a game.
Really, and you would think, because Whaler Sports went out and they changed, or had the AHL scheduled a very fair schedule for the Connecticut Whale on primarily Friday, Saturday, and Sunday weekend games. You would think that this would help with Connecticut's attendance. Unfortunately, it looks like some of the people are still not bought into supporting the AHL club.
I find it more surprising that people are going to Bridgeport too, that they're not trying to get that push for a new AHL team, because Bridgeport isn't even in the, they're not even trying for it.
Now so, is this because that you have a stronger market coming out of New York, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
You would think in the parking, I don't know what the parking's like down there. Honestly, I've never been to any of the Bridgeport games, but I would think that when you're looking at, parking, restaurants, what do people want to see when they go, or how convenient is it to go to the game?
Yeah, and I think, though, overall, they've seen an attendance total of 2 million across the entire
league
of the AHL, compared to the NHL, where they've seen millions of those.
Right, exactly.
It's not a thing to compare the two, but Connecticut, I think, if the Whale they've rebranded, that kind of stuff. When we get that 12,000 a game,
they're aiming for 7,000, 7,000 to 9,000 a game to get the NHL to pay attention to Hartford, Connecticut.
And if they did that, statistics-wise, they would be in the top 5.
Okay.
I don't think they're ever, personally, I don't know if we can get to that point.
Well, right now you look at the type of ticket values that are out there with the Connecticut Whale. Howard Baldwin and Whaler Sports have had a bunch of initiatives. Unfortunately, nobody has, I shouldn't say nobody, a fair amount of people have taken advantage of them. This weekend with New Year's Eve coming, all Upper Bowl tickets are $5 a piece. It's a great value. You bring a family, you can afford going to the game and get your ticket for $5.
And I think one thing that probably we should look at on a greater scale is that Hershey, Lake Erie, Grand Rapids, Houston, and San Antonio are the top 5. What are they doing to get that fan base out there? Are they doing the $5 bowl, whatever?
Right.
Or are they doing a meal plan? Are they doing whatever?
A discount for parking.
Exactly.
Or anything like that.
Connecticut, they did the student blowout.
Yeah, the student blowout was last week during the holiday season. This is one of those things where I think Hartford, and again, you have to look at the type of arena we have. We have an NHL-ready arena. Yes, a lot of improvements have to be done, and hopefully we'll have Howard Baldwin come in and talk to us about those renderings for his new plan. But this is an NHL arena that costs upwards of $20,000 per night for Whaler Sports to put out there, and they need to attract a lot of people in there.
Yeah, and I think kind of also digging into the Bridgeport attendance would also really help, because it not only brings more into Connecticut, but it shows the whole state is really probably going for a hockey team. Necessarily, is it Hartford? Maybe not, but I think that's what they have to look at.
Well, it goes to prove, and on one of our
do they make it a rival? Do they make it a rivalry within the state?
Well, it already has. They have the Connecticut Cup between Bridgeport and Hartford.
If it was more, I think, of an intense rivalry with that, I think that would make it. I think that would say we really need to put it together and fight it out type of thing. Because with that, people are going to go both ways. People are going to go to Bridgeport and to Hartford. But
And it is,
right now
and you look at you have two teams, so you are pulling.
Yeah.
And when you look at Hartford versus Bridgeport, you have an awful lot of fans. There was a person down in Bridgeport who commented on Facebook where they said they were talking about how don't leave the Bridgeport people out, because a lot of people go to those games down in Bridgeport, and she was absolutely right. Judging by the attendance figures, Bridgeport is well ahead of Hartford with
totals. Hartford is looking at 56, almost 57,000, as Bridgeport is looking at close to 75,000.
Yep.
So you're a clear, like almost 10, 20,000 more in Bridgeport. I think that's a key thing to remember too. You have a whole state, not just the center of the state.
And it's great. You know, you talk about the attendance, and now you have a couple guys from the Connecticut Whale have been called up, and this is just a couple guys. Carl Hagelin and Mitchell have been brought up to the parent club, the Rangers Club, and they've been quite successful up there. In fact, HBO is doing a series on the Rangers. And right there in the picture was Mitchell from the Connecticut Whale. So these guys are making an impact up in the league. Sean Avery was just recently called up from Connecticut to the Rangers organization. So you know, this is the way I think people can follow their players, and these are our homegrown players here in Hartford, Connecticut, that are now going to the Rangers Club.
Does it hurt the Connecticut Whale at all to see these people go up, or is it helping kind of the status of the Whale, saying that we have good players, we have those quality players that are going to go up, so you're going to want to get out to the games and watch these good players? Is that help or hurt the Whale, I guess I'm trying to say?
Well, I think people have to be used to, we have a minor league hockey club that is a farm team to a parent NHL club. And what tends to happen is you get attracted to these players who are very good on a minor league level, and all of a sudden they disappear the next day. Unless you're an avid hockey fan and you're watching hockey all the time, okay, we lost a couple players, so you get a couple more players. Now you have to get to know these players. So, you know, it's not like when the Whalers were here and you had these same guys here all the time for long-term contracts. Sports in general has evolved where you're not having a guy for 5 or 6 years.
Would that help more? Would that make the Connecticut region a better target for hockey, because we need to kind of attach to those players?
Well, I think you
more of a hockey fan base.
Well, it's your team, and when the Whalers were here, it was Connecticut's team. Everyone came to see the Whalers. Yes, we had years that it was very poor attendance. People, you know, bashed them because they never get anyone in. But you have to build a winner. Connecticut fans are very fickle. You have to bring the fans in. UConn for many years didn't attract a lot of people. They did all kinds of things. You see it this year with UConn football, did not attract enough people this year because they're not as good as they were last year.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and like you said, the attendance, I mean, the scheduling they aimed it more for Friday night out on the town or Saturday night out on the town. You could just go to a game, and it's just a fun night, which I think really is going to help with attendance-wise, which I think that's important.
People need to get on board. The AHL has made this a successful schedule for Connecticut, for the Whale, for the people of Connecticut to support their hockey club. And then it's up to the people to now succeed and get out there and show the people of Connecticut that we want to support our hockey club and get 10,000 people in their game. Last night's game, which was phenomenal, they won. They're in first place now. They had 7,500 people at the game. I hope this weekend we can get 8,000 to 10,000 people at the game. There is no reason that should not happen. It's holiday break time for the kids. Take them out for $5 a piece. You can have the upper bowl seating. There's really no reason to not go to the hockey games. And it's like Howard, Baldwin, and Whaler Sports said, they've done everything they can do. It's now up to the fans to support the hockey club.
That is very true. We got to keep up, going to the games, getting those deals out, and I think the schedule works really well. Well, we'll be right back with Whaler Talk after we show you some pretty awesome highlights of some Whalers.
Bob Newmeyer and John Hewitt back in Quebec City. No score. We've played 3.5 minutes of this first period, and Plum was out there with Keon, Lyle, and Warner as McKenzie has the tender ankle. Jeffrion gave it away to Warner. His shot is weak and wide. Dug out by Lyle. Lyle trying to center, and Hoganson took him to the glass. Leduc in there as well. The Whalers trying crowbarred free. Warner trying to kick it to Keon. Roughed up by Hoganson. Dug out by Dave. He's got nowhere to go. Leduc ties him up. They try to get a face-off, and they do behind the Quebec goal. 4 minutes played, no score.
I think, Bob, in that last play, Keon, it looked like he was trying to center it out to Georgie Lyle at the top of the circle, and he was tied up very well by Hoganson and couldn't make the play, but Keon's very good on face-offs, so we could get this one.
And he won that draw. Back to Marty Howe into the slot, working, dropped it off, but Lyle wasn't prepared for that. Dubé tried to jam it out. Lyle held it in. To Keon, it hit Dubé. They bang it around in the circle, and Dubé dug it out and cleared it to the neutral zone. Chased down by Marty Howe. Rolls it over to Ron Plum. Plum up on that right side for Jim Warner in the middle of Dave Keon. Keon at center. Keon was stopped by Leduc. Warner to bank it in weakly behind the Quebec goal. We're still scoreless. Tardif there. Good move on Lyle. Right wing to Dubé. Dubé will give and go to Tardif at center with Leduc. Tardif over that Whaler line. Stopped by Warner to Plum, and back comes New England. Plum ahead for Lyle. That was stick checked by Hoganson. Play now in the neutral zone. Richie Leduc. Leduc to that Whaler line. Dropping for Tardif. A slap. Just can't save for Plum. And Ron will be content to shovel that up the kneecap of referee Friday. Hoganson back over the Whaler line. Hoganson dropped it off. Warner a good check on Tardif. Jim's got Keon if he can see him. Tardif tied him up, and play is called. The perils there of refereeing Friday.
Welcome back to Whaler Talk. We hope you liked the highlights that we showed you of the Quebec versus Whaler game when they were the New England Whalers and when they played in Springfield, Mass. We're going to talk just a little bit about NHL attendance. Number one, Chicago with 21,500 people a game, and they're selling out over their capacity on average a game. Montreal is also in second with about 21,000. Detroit, 20,000. Philadelphia, 19,000. And Toronto with 19,000. Now, each of those five are selling out each one of their games either to their capacity or over their capacity. What does this mean for Hartford? I guess that's what the question means. Like you said, 15,000 if we average a game. We're in the lower, we're at 24. That's where Winnipeg is right now, who just came into the league. However,
Again.
However, they sell out every single game.
And they have sellouts for the next 3 years, as the news has said that they have season ticket holders, tons of season ticket holders. What it means to Hartford is what the Baldwins and Whaler Sports are now trying to do, is build that hockey community all over again. Unfortunately, not everyone knows the Hartford Whalers because it's been 14 years. It's time to build this community back and to bring in all these people. And I think Howard Baldwin and Whaler Sports are doing all the right things with the revitalization of downtown, with the promoting of the ticket prices. But Hartford has to start filling the building. However they do it is going to be up to the fans to go at least go halfway. They're not even going halfway right now.
And the key, too, is that people go to where the winners are. If you're not winning, you're going to be in the hole.
But here,
for example,
where's
Phoenix.
Connecticut right now, though?
Connecticut is number one.
First
However,
place.
they're in the lower 30, in the lower 20 out of 30 leagues.
In attendance. But they're in first place. Connecticut likes winners. It's time for people to go to the game. We have a first place club. So when you talk about that,
and around in this area, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Washington, New York, Boston, New Jersey, and the Islanders, they are all selling out every single game. And they're
Boston,
at 18,000 seat arenas.
But you have to remember, Boston also won the Stanley Cup. So.
As of December 20th, Boston is leading the league with not by too much. They're winning by wins, but only and points-wise, they're only winning by a point. Followed by Philadelphia. Two big teams. If Hartford comes in, they have to compete with these two huge, and they'll just. I think one thing's going to be a bit nervous for hockey fans is, will they be crushed?
Well,
because you're putting in a new league into a huge market.
When they talk about the restructuring that's going to happen in a couple of years with the NHL and the divisions, they're gonna make them into 4 divisions with 8 teams per division. That's what's going to have to happen. Is people have to start going to the games and getting involved in it. It's interesting. You talk about the NHL, and they talked about Versus had or NBC Versus their new network talked about concussions and how the NHL is becoming such a fast sport. They have the right equipment. But, you did some research about the concussions in the NHL.
Overall, from the beginning of 2011-2012 season, 15 players have been diagnosed with concussions. Now, like my dad said, the speed of the game has increased a lot since the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. The speed of the game has increased crazy. They've taken away 2-line pass. They have a trapezoid strategy behind the goal so that the goalie is protected and now is in the game. Shootouts were eliminated, and to eliminate ties, they were implemented, which does add some excitement to the game because now it's kind of like a penalty kick in soccer, and I think that adds a little bit more intensity to the game. But since they have done these changes to the game, injuries have nearly doubled. And across the board. Concussions especially have increased as well.
But this year, how many have been diagnosed?
15.
15?
Yeah.
And those are some high-profile players such as Sidney Crosby and some of the other ones out there. I mean, look at the hit on Nathan Horton last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Those are the.
If that doesn't make you realize there's something wrong with how the game maybe is played, I think that was maybe the start of people realizing it's big hits are part of the game, but nasty hits aren't part of the game.
Right, and cheap shots are not part of the game.
Like,
and Brendan Shanahan, right.
And,
what were you talking about? The behind, what was it called? Clipping now?
Yeah, clipping
or hitting from behind.
Yeah, and that's, I guess it's kind of a cheap shot in a way, but. In football, you come up from behind the guy, and you have to. If that guy doesn't know what's behind him, that's his own fault.
Well, I think there's a
he's
vulnerability.
Not watching around him.
I think there's a vulnerability that you have to be careful of because of this player doesn't see what's behind him or on the side of him. You see how Nathan Horton was hit; he was blindsided, and the league has done a lot with protecting that player.
But as you said, the equipment, it's not the lack of protection. It's the speed of the game, how it's played. It's not so much as a strategy anymore. It's just getting the puck from this side to that side, this side to that, each side of the ice.
It's really opened up the game.
It has, and it's exciting because it keeps you on your feet, keeps you watching, keeps you, the energy going throughout the whole game. But it's more dangerous to the players.
Yes, and I think as we all love a fast-paced game, you love watching up and down the ice, and just the pure talent of these players today, and their finesse and their physical makeup is just amazing.
And I think that makes, with the speed of the game, it increases the I don't even know what the word is.
Well, the vulnerability for it.
Well, no, but the high-intensity players, they are bigger players. Chara, huge guy, but he can move swiftly. It's making these players move on a dime.
Right.
And I think that's also key. It's making these players excel in what they do because they have to be.
And then you have Ovechkin, who's a very agile player.
Yeah.
But again, he's a heck of a fighter. He gets out there, and he's a beast.
Yeah.
He's a very strong player.
Yeah, and the only problem is, though, with these new penalties and head-to-head
leading with the head.
Leading with the head. Players don't necessarily know what's a penalty and what's not. They're just playing the game how they play the game. You're now implementing these things that they don't know what hits are okay anymore. They don't know.
I think they're guessing.
Yeah, and it's now become like a court, basically. The judge is now the ref, and he has to interpret whether or not that hit was leading with the head, leading with the shoulder. Was it a hook? Was it a, what exactly is it? So he doesn't know. The player doesn't know what to do anymore. How he can. Well, hit
I think I do totally agree with you. I believe the players need to be educated in what is acceptable But again, then you have some players who know the rules and still do it.
Yeah.
That's where we get into these big problems.
Those are the nasty players.
Exactly.
So
And then
we don't care about them anyway.
You're going to get into a bigger problem.
But I don't think you need to make new equipment, new all this stuff. I think it's just slow it down a little. Take it back more of a strategy. Not much, but like there's only 3 main strategies. You have a triangle, you have a square, and you have an all-man coverage. That's the main 3 that you use in hockey. So maybe add a new one. Maybe the trapezoid was the newest one, and that was since the lockout.
That's behind the net.
Yeah.
And that's not so much. That just protects the goalie.
Yeah.
When you get into the strategies of are they gonna run a press on defense and that type of thing, when you look at the concussions, and this is a perfect segue into the end of our program when we get into Ulf Samuelsson, who is a great player, has been many concussions over the years. He was born in 1964 in Sweden, played 16 seasons in the NHL, drafted by the Whalers. He was number 5th in the 1982 draft. He had 57 goals, 275 assists, 332 penalty minutes. And the big one, 2,453 penalty minutes on top of it. He played for the Whalers,
That's
Penguins.
a true hockey player. When you have that many penalty minutes, you're a true hockey player.
And he played for the Whalers, Penguins, Rangers, Red Wings, and Flyers in his career. Some of his awards, he was the Whalers MVP in 87-88. He was the most valuable player. He was the 5th most Whaler player with 463 games played as a Whaler. His top defenseman award in 86-87, then again in 87-88. And he won 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins and Howard Baldwin. He was an assistant coach with the Hartford Wolfpack and the Phoenix Coyotes. And now he's head coach in Sweden for Modo Hockey. As we end our show tonight, we're going to go to a clip when he retired his number. The Whalers retired his number at the Hartford Civic Center or the XL Center with the Hartford Wolfpack game that night. Sean, it's been great. We had a great show tonight, and we'll check you next time on Whaler Talk.
Our first honoree was born in Fagersta, Sweden. He is accompanied by his mother, Rose, and her friend, Eric Enderstad, his wife, Jeanette, and their 4 children, Philip, Henrique, Victoria, and Adam. "16 seasons in the NHL. "16 seasons in the NHL, 57 goals, 275 assists, 332 points, 2,453 penalty minutes, 7+ years here in Hartford from 84 to 91. He has the 5th most games played in Whaler history, that's 463, and the 4th most penalty minutes at 1108. Named the Whaler top defenseman 1986 and 87, and then again in 87 and 88. He was the team MVP in 87-88. A 2-time Stanley Cup champion, originally drafted by the Whalers in the 4th round in 1982, and of course you know him as the current assistant coach of the Hartford Wolfpack. Number 5, Ulf Samuelsson. And now our next honoree, born in Quebec City, Quebec, played 19 seasons in the NHL. He comes out accompanied by his wife Annie, their 4 children Hannah, Emma, William, and Declan. With 2 tours in Hartford, 1984, 1991. This man put up some great numbers. 19 seasons in the NHL, 2 tours in Hartford from 84 to 91, then 95 to 97. A total of 587 games. He still ranks second in Whaler franchise history with most goals, 382, and assists, 294, games played, 708. The winner of the Bud Light NHL Man of the Year Award in 1991 as a member of the Hartford Whalers. A 2-time All-Star while in Hartford. He served as the Whaler captain in 96-97, originally drafted by the Whalers in the 3rd round in 1982, and will forever be known as scoring the last winning goal for the Hartford Whalers. The current coach of the Portland Pirates, number 11, Kevin Dineen. And finally, we are proud to introduce our 3rd honoree, coming out accompanied by his wife, Mary Lou, and their 3 children, Caitlin, Michael, and Connor. Born in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, captained the Whalers from 84 to 91. You know who it is, number 10, Ron Francis. The book of statistics on Ron are amazing. 714 of his first games were played as a Hartford Whaler. Franchise record, 264 goals in Hartford, 557 assists, 821 points, 4-time All-Star, 3 times with Hartford. Recognized by the league 5 times. The Frank Selke Trophy for Best Defensive Forward in 95. The Lady Byng Trophy, Most Gentlemanly Player, 3 times, and honored with the NHL's King Clancy Memorial Trophy for leadership qualities and humanitarian contributions in 2002. Ron retired in September 14th, 2005. His NHL totals: 549 goals, 1,249 assists, 1,798 points, 1,731 games, 23 seasons. He's number 2 on the all-time list for assists, number 3 in games played, and number 4 all-time in points. A 2-time Stanley Cup champion,